Hey, it's Brock here from Rockhill Farm, and today we're going to be installing a complete protection kit on my TYM 574 tractor. This kit is made by ITC Quick Attach, and it basically covers anything that is in a vulnerable position or likely to be damaged while using your tractor in tough conditions, like rocky terrain or in the woods. So the kit includes a skid plate that covers the underside of your tractor to prevent anything from coming up from the bottom and hitting things like your fuel filters or your oil filters or anything like that. It also protects the fuel tank, the hydraulic lines, the side of the engine compartment, and the grill. So it's a pretty comprehensive kit. So I'm excited to get this put on the tractor and see how it looks and see if it really does the full job of protecting all those vulnerable parts of the tractor. So I want to show everything in this video, but I don't want to make it a longer video than it needs to be. So I'm going to unbox all this, organize it, get my tools, get my plan in place. We'll be right back to do the install. Okay, so we're going to start with the skid plate. So here we have, it's a two-piece skid plate. This says back, that says front. And these basically cover everything under the tractor. First comment I've got is these are heavy. In the video, the install video from the company, they used a floor jack to lift them up. And I think I'm going to do it by hand, but still, that points out that they're heavy. So the purpose of the skid plate, you look up here at all this, like you've got all these lines here, here's a linkage, you've got all of this stuff hanging down here that can be damaged. There's another linkage, you've got hydraulic lines and fuel lines and exhaust lines, and everything down here is at risk from getting hit from the underside. We've got a filter right here. Something could jab in and hit that. And the goal of this whole kit is to protect as much of this as possible. Now, it seems like the design of the TYM tractor makes this a lot easier than I would have thought it would be, because it looks like the skid plates slide in here on top of this and rest on these rails here. And these rails are kind of crazy because they go all the way from, this is your loader support, this is your loader mounting bracket. They go all the way back, these rails, and hook to the axle of the tractor. So these provide a lot of strength to the machine. We're going to slide those skid plates on top of those. Now, one thing I don't know yet, and I'm about to find out, is whether or not I have to remove this Backhoe subframe. The company has a video showing you how to put this same kit on a 474, but not a 574. On their video about the 474, it says you can leave the Backhoe subframe on. We'll find out. This one looks to me like it's in the way, but we're going to find out. In my current situation, I never use the Backhoe, and if I do, if I need to put this back on, it's just 4 bolts. So my expectation is that the skid plate's going to come back to here, and then you're going to have interference. And they could make a Backhoe cutout in their kit so that you could put this on with the Backhoe, because the actual Backhoe is down below the skid plate. So you could use it with the Backhoe if you had a cutout for this little thing. Okay, so I think we take the back one first, and we just lift it up there like that. And we climb under, so if it falls, it lands on our face. And when I say we, I mean me. I don't think anyone else's face is going under this tractor today. So there we have the back one. It's setting on these loader mount rails, and it just slides back. I think this cutout right here might be so that you can still access that drain plug. And that is exactly what it is. It feels like we're pretty well lined up in here and centered. And then when we get to the point that this is perfectly lined up here, this bumps into these bolt heads right there. So that's probably going to be where it sits. The next step is you've got these brackets right here. A little bit of a funny shape to them. They actually lock this down. It's essentially clamped in place. So you've got all these holes threaded into your skid plate. You use the longer set of bolts to fasten this down, and I don't have them locked down. They're just kind of snug until I get everything put up. But you've got 4 of those on the back. You'll have 4 of those same things on the front. and then you'll bolt the two panels together. So I've got the plate down here and I took some measurements. This plate's gonna come right up to this loader frame. So this bracket has to come off. Now from what I could tell, you could have the skid plate on and the backhoe on. It would not interfere with using the backhoe. So that's my impression, that this could be made to work, but the company's stance is that the kit is not backhoe compatible. And I'm going to go ahead and show these measurements, but I'm not sure if it could be made to work or not. There's 4 3/4 of an inch right here. There is 3 inches right here. And then actually this sticks out another 3 inches. So you would have to have a cutout that starts 4 3/4 inches over and extends out 6 inches for the skid plate to work with the backhoe frame. Okay, so I went ahead and dropped out the backhoe subframe. We're going to slide the skid plate in from the opposite side. You've got a little bit more wiggle room with it from this side. So now I've slid in the front skid plate, got the back skid plate. I've put in my 8 brackets here that attach the skid plate to the loader support rails. And the last piece of the skid plate is this plate here, where the seam is between the front and the back. You put this over the top and then you run these 8 bolts up through there. Now you've got the 2 pieces tied together. They're tied to this rail. Should be pretty darn solid. And this cutout right here allows you to get to your oil filter. And that cutout there lets you get to your drain plug for your hydraulic system. The last step of installing the skid plate is this plate right here. It's got hex head bolts. And that's your cover plate for your filter, so that if you need to do your oil change, you only have to remove this small plate. The next thing we're going to do is install a protective cover over the fuel tank. This is a plastic fuel tank. The way we do that is with this 3-piece kit right here. You've got the bottom plate, which bolts to your skid plate if you have a skid plate. Then it angles up this way to match the angle of the gas tank. And then we have a front cover plate that covers the front, and then that angle, and then we've got a top lid. So the first thing we do is bolt these 3 pieces together to form a solid box. What I need to do now is take these 3 bolts out that hold this step, because the same bolts that attach this step attach the top of this. Okay, and now we're going to lift this into place. It will kind of sit there. I think I'm going to put these bottom bolts in first to hold it still while I wrestle with that top step. So I put those in, but I didn't run them down so that this is all slotted holes. I can still move it around and get it lined up however I need to. The next thing we are installing protects the engine compartment where the hood doesn't. So it covers this entire area here and uses these 3 existing bolts. Just like that. How it looks like, all I do is remove those 3 bolts, stick this up here and put those 3 bolts back. Seems pretty straightforward. I'll let you know if I have any trouble and show you what it looks like in just a minute. Okay, so I stuck this on. That gives us really nice protection here. So I was just checking the ITC video to make sure I was doing everything right, and I've skipped a step. When you take these 3 bolts out and put this on, you also put this guard on right here, which protects this rubber part of this line right there. So I've got to take these 2 bolts back out, put this on right here to get that protection. Okay, so now we've got our engine protector on. That's going to protect everything up here, but still let air flow through. And then this little bracket right here protects that hose. Now we're going to do the exact same install that we did here on the other side. Same bolts, same install. Be right back. Now this side is a little bit different than the other side in that it only has 2 bolts instead of 3 for right here. But it's got these 2 holes right here. And so they want you to open up the hood, drill 2 holes here, and then put a nut and bolt on. So I'll do that in just a minute and be right back. So I drilled the 2 holes through this plate, this pretty thin stuff. It's easy to drill. And you put those 2 bolts in there. And normally this protection kit would come with a grill guard like you see in this image here. My kit did not come with it because I already have a grill guard on my tractor and I didn't feel like switching it out. But ITC Quick Attach makes a nice grill guard that you can get separately or with this kit. So now we're installing the protection kit for our hydraulics. Now this also comes in multiple pieces. We have a base, we have a back, then we have the front here, and we've assembled those pieces right now. And there are a couple different options depending on what kind of hydraulic setup you have. You either will put a flat plate on here, or in my case, you're going to put on this box that allows for this valve to stick out. They've designed this to work with a bunch of different hydraulic setups and different third function valves and things like that. Mine is not the standard setup that most tractors are going to have. This WR long is a continuous flow and it bolts on in kind of an unusual way. But it uses these same bolts here. I'm going to take the step off. I have to take the step off, and then these same bolts will go through the step, and then this box, and then this. So I think this is now going to be behind the step. And here's the finished look of this. In my particular application, I needed this plate to stick out and cover the valve. And, you know, this is really, I mean, this whole thing is so sturdy and thick and robust. I think they actually showed this plate going on the outside, but I stuck it on the inside. And it just leaves this little opening where the hoses come out here, opening where the hoses come out back here. It's bolted into the skid plate underneath, and then it's bolted in. This front plate shares a bolt hole with this right here. Really, really nice clean setup, and everything is really protected. So I couldn't feel better about the way this install is. It's clean, it's effective, it's strong, it's well designed. Everything just is pretty great. I love it. Now, to my knowledge, ITC Quick Attach currently only makes these kits for Mahindra and TYM tractors, which would also include the former Branson models and the Bad Boy tractors. But I'm not sure if that's accurate. That's what I believe to be true. You can go check their website to see if your tractor has a kit like this available. If you're interested in getting a kit, I've got a discount code that I'll put in the video description. For now, I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.